push to get Medicaid expansion off the November ballot denied. Tonight, we have an update on why the Supreme Court dismissed the lawsuit against the measure. And both gubernatorial candidates pointing the finger, accusing their opponent of backing out of a debate. We hear what both candidates have to say.
I was hooked for life.
And a Bigfoot fanatic wants to share her love for the hairy beast with the rest of central Nebraska. Now Hastings is home to the country's newest Bigfoot museum. And good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight for First at 5. Colleen's off tonight. Let's start with the weather. And Kent joins us now with a quick check of that forecast. Windy out there, Kent. Kent, thanks. In the news tonight, Nebraskans will be asked to vote on Medicaid expansion in November. Today, the state Supreme Court dismissing a lawsuit to keep Medicaid expansion off the ballot. State Senator Lydia Brosh and former State Senator Mark Christensen challenged the constitutionality of the measure that proponents say will benefit about 90,000 people in the state. In that ruling, the court called petition drives a precious right of the public, saying it should be protected by the courts whenever possible. Senator Bob Christ says he'd like to debate the governor one more time, and he refutes claims that he is the one holding that up, saying it's Governor Ricketts who's to blame for the cancellation of the next debate in Wayne.
I asked him for 7 debates initially. We came down to a realistic asking him for 5. Now we're down to basically what he calls a debate, which is not a debate. It's a forum in Omaha at a Jewish synagogue. We did have a debate, and I think that the result of that debate was that he figured he better have another one because he didn't do so well. But I'm again not walking into a snake pit where we don't have proper moderators, a neutral situation. And I think our NET has proven over the years, generationally have proven over the years, they run a pretty good debate process. So that's where we went in on this negotiation. They didn't want to talk about it. They wanted a different network to do their thing, and a former state senator, Mike Flood, and his folks to come in and moderate and do what needed to be done. We disagreed. Again, the governor and campaign will do what he always does, blame and deflect. We didn't cancel the debate, they did.
Well, today on NTV News at noon, the governor disputed Mr. Christ's allegations, saying his campaign has reached out to the Christ campaign to discuss logistics.
Well, we couldn't get the Christ campaign to respond to us. We sent them an email. We were still negotiating over what some of the terms of the debate were going to be, and they didn't get back to us. And if they're not even going to agree to meet to talk about the debate, I don't know how we can have a debate.
And he says you guys dumped out of the debate.
We sent him an email saying, and we actually made all of our emails public to say, hey, here's the chain of emails about how we've been even trying to set up a meeting. To my knowledge, they still haven't gotten back to us.
Well, the two candidates will meet again, one more time in Omaha for the Nebraska Jewish Forum. An 18-year-old man arrested early this morning after crashing his car multiple times while under the influence. Grand Island police say Jaden Hayes was rather drunk and had a generic brand of Xanax with him when he was driving just before 2 a.m. Officers say he hit 2 parked cars and then finally crashed into a tree at 16th and Park Avenue. When cops arrived, the engine compartment of the car was fully engulfed in flames, which then caught the tree on fire. A family with small kids was evacuated from a nearby home out of fear that the tree would spread flames to the house. Hayes was arrested on charges of possession of a controlled substance, DUI, and 2 counts of leaving the scene of an accident. A video going viral with parents up in arms about a bus full of children they say is dangerously close to a moving train. This video was shared hundreds of times since yesterday morning. The bus was on its way to St. Labori when it stopped right in front of a passing train yesterday with one crossing arm resting on top. Northwest Public Schools confirms this was one of their contracted buses. Mick Brown with First Holiday Tour and Travel said they take safety seriously and the driver has been suspended indefinitely pending remedial training. Brown also said the city is cutting back a line of trees that he says may have blocked the driver's vision in this incident. Officials with Northwest Schools say they're pleased with the disciplinary action of the bus company that they're taking, but the school is also looking at using a new route that doesn't include a railroad crossing. Grand Island police say that while the video is concerning, they don't have enough evidence on the surrounding circumstances to issue any citations, and they'll leave the disciplinary action up to the travel company that employs that driver. A new report says the state's prison is still facing staffing issues. According to the Inspector General for Corrections report, staff members at the state's prison are still experiencing high burnout rates and oftentimes have to work 16-hour shifts. The report notes there has been better training for employees and higher starting wages, but the Inspector General says more needs to be done to improve, adding that employees say they don't feel valued and don't get pay increases based off of seniority. Creighton University is now facing criticism over one of its research projects. Today, the animal rights group Stop Animal Exploitation now announcing they filed a complaint with the USDA against that university. Earlier this year, Creighton officials sent a letter to regulators saying they've taken corrective measures after discovering incomplete records and instances when protocol wasn't being followed up on. The group says the USDA should impose the maximum fine of $10,000 per violation because Creighton University discovered other violations back in 2016. Earlier today, Central Community College in Hastings hosted a few robotic friends. The United States Army brought in bomb-detonating robots for students and staff members to check out. Over $200,000 worth of equipment built to save lives and controlled by something you might be familiar with. These robots are one way the Army hopes to show folks how diverse working with them could be. One sergeant telling NTV News that these robots are used to assess situations in the field. If something looks suspicious, they'll send a robot instead of sending themselves. These robots will be making their way to Texas and back to their station in Fort Knox, Tennessee. When storms like Hurricane Florence make landfall, there's often a major price tag to all that damage and the federal aid. That can decimate the cash flow at FEMA. Sinclair's Scott Thuman shows us how it's already shaping up to be another challenging year. Well, the weather's up next, warm and windy today. Kent's forecast coming right up. Then bee stings, environmental issues, an EpiPen could save a life, but now shortages are causing concern. And everything you've ever wanted to know about Bigfoot and more. The Nebraska Bigfoot Museum, that's coming up.
NTV, Central and Western Nebraska's most watched news. With Colleen Williams, Seth Denny, and Kent Boughton Weather. This is NTV First at 5. Time now for NTV's First Alert Weather Forecast.
Yes, indeed. All right.
Summer weather here to stay. Fall, of course, the 23rd, so not too far away.
All right, Kent, thanks so much. Well, it's an important and life-saving device, but now the impact of an EpiPen shortage is spreading. That story coming up next. New concerns tonight as a nationwide shortage of EpiPens is now impacting pharmacies. Liz Bonas has what experts say could help save your life if you need this device.
Liz Bonas, NTV News.
Still to come on First at 5.
The reason that you don't find Bigfoot is because they have already found you.
Well, you may not be finding Bigfoot, but one new local museum wants to at least convince you he may be real. It's one of the country's most legendary creatures, sometimes called a Yeti, other times a Sasquatch, and most people know the creature as Bigfoot. Now one local Bigfoot fanatic is putting her collection on display for the opening of Nebraska's first and only Bigfoot Museum. NTV's Alex Whitney was there with more. Alex, thanks so much, and we'll be right back with a final check of your weather. Coming up tonight on NTV News at 6, we'll hear what some are saying about the changes at this year's Husker Harvest Days. Plus in sports, what the Husker coaching staff is saying about the increased reps afforded to former Kearney Catholic quarterback Matt Masker. But first, let's check in one last time with Kent. It's been nice at Husker Harvest Days.
It really has. You know, if it hadn't been for the wind, the heat would be an issue. But it really has been wonderful. Of course, with the concrete out there, you don't have the dirt blowing around. Winds do continue for the last day of Husker Harvest Days tomorrow. 73 at 10 o'clock, 68 at 8 a.m. Highs tomorrow around 84. South winds to around 30.
Okay, wind blowing again.
Again and again.
Kent, thanks. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you in a half